Hello viewers, I'm SB and welcome back to A House of Many Doors. We're going to go ahead and once again take advantage of the fact that saving and reloading in town refreshes all of the town options. I know that we're taking advantage of a bug here by doing this, but it's not really like breaking the economy of the game or anything. Really all we're doing is just saving ourselves the time necessary to leave town and travel somewhere else and come back. I'm okay with it. I have decided I'm fine with it. So let's visit the palace again. We can test our guile in the intricacies of court once more. Probably will be alright here. There are innumerable hangers-on and flatterers at the Carmine Court. You are just one obscure face among many, at least for today. The fancy of the nobles falls elsewhere. Okay, so it didn't work out so well, but at least we didn't get poisoned or anything. The text suggests that it's possible to get poisoned there. And I guess we could delve back into the underbelly. Right, does it remember... Yes, you've reached the third unexplored layer. It totally does remember the progress we made before, so let's go ahead and do that. A rubble-strewn abyss splits the street in half. It has collapsed under its own weight. You can climb down the shifting rubble slopes to the streets beneath. I wonder if there's... There must be something at the bottom, right? Because if it was just go in here and have random encounters forever, it wouldn't save your... Like, it's saving your achieved depth wouldn't actually mean anything, right? I wonder what is at the bottom. There are fewer buildings down here, and the wooden ones have rotted to their foundations. A half-collapsed temple blocks the street. Picking through the wreckage, you find a statue of a beetle god, still stained with ancient blood. Don't touch that thing, murmurs Mang, your gunner, darkly. Looks cursed to me. A few other crew murmur in agreement. Do I want a bizarre effigy? I'm just gonna leave it alone. We'll just max out our sanity. You abandon the beetle statue and move on. Your crew seem relieved. I wonder if there will be other consequences to that, though. And deeper still. You pass a stone pyramid, its doors carved with a strange tableau. Tiny stick figures kneel before a much larger beetle. One poor fellow is impaled upon a mandible. Something is definitely following you, a human silhouette flitting between shadows in the distance. Is that a face staring from the alley? A pair of eyes peering over the rooftop? Disquieting, but not actually harmful. A bell tolls somewhere very distant. Who else is down here? Some patches of the underbelly are swampier than others. You realize you've hit one of the swampy patches when two of your crew members, who were straggling behind, start shouting for help. They've sunk deep into the greedy mud by the time you find them. Mang, your gunner, is already up to its chest. Willie Buddle, the guard, isn't much better. Both are sinking at an astonishing rate. We could not possibly rescue both. So, I feel a little bit bad about the way I'm deciding this, but Mang we've definitely had more interactions with. I don't even know who Willie Buddle is. So we're gonna save him. Sorry, Willie. You toss the rope to Mang and haul it to safety. Meanwhile, Willie Buddle shouts obscenities at you as he slips beneath the mud. It is the last you ever see of him. It's not great, but we had to choose somehow, right? Deeper and deeper still. The street cracks beneath your feet, then collapses. You are deposited rudely on top of a 10-foot pile of bones, which splinter and shatter under your weight. That's a lot of old bones that I probably don't actually want to carry around. Well, deeper still, we're doing all right. I think we have the resources left to keep pushing, although it's looking like the challenges are getting difficult enough down here that we're going to be unlikely to pass anything. The buildings are little more than stone huts. The floor is littered with flint arrowheads. Disaster! Your footsteps have shaken something ancient and vital, and the ceiling above is flourishing cracks. Pebbles fall like hail. Well, I think we're a little bit better at guile than we are at vigilance, if I'm not mistaken, so we're going to press this one. Somehow we passed. You run, and the entire world folds in behind you with a roar. You don't stop running until the noise stops and the dust settles. A quick head count reveals that all your crew survived. Miraculous, indeed. Unfortunately, now you'll have to find another route home. It doesn't really mean that. There's a turn back button right here, and I bet if we clicked on it, it would totally work. But we are heading deeper. We're going to try to reach the next checkpoint, and then probably bail, because we really do not seem to be up to the challenges here. Mud squelches underfoot. It is mostly swamp down here. Church bells are tolling in the sunken city. Mang clutches at its head, sinking to the floor. It signals our doom, it insists. We died down here long ago. We are wandering ghosts who haven't realized we're dead. The rest of your crew mutter in fear. You try to hurry everyone along, but Mang Sub Mang refuses to move. Leave me, it wails. Hey, buddy, cheer up. You politely but firmly insist that Mang Sub Mang get a hold of itself. After several deep breaths, it nods, because it really is just that easy. Head deeper. We should be pretty close to the next checkpoint, right? You pass beneath toadstools taller than towers. A flurry of bats explode from under one of the caps and spiral shrieking away, and you know how I hate that. Crashing footsteps up ahead, a creaking roar. Something approaches. We will attempt to hide, because it can't be good. Whatever it is down here, it can't be friendly. Before you can find somewhere to hide, a ramble tree explodes through a nearby building. It lopes madly toward you, a towering thing with uprooted legs, its oaken fists smashing the walls around it indiscriminately. Hey, what a surprise, we failed. We've actually been super lucky so far. There is no universe in which we defeat this ramble tree, and so, the fleeing. Oh, that would be neat if we had a flare. We should definitely get a flare. Emergency flares seem important. Next time we have the opportunity to buy one, we will. And then we run. It chases you a long time before giving up. You end up almost back at the entrance. Okay, so that's as much progress as we're making down there today. I was really hoping we were going to hit another checkpoint, but yeah, we got deeper. It's something. It's progress. We can probably go ahead and repair our hull. We're down 4 points, and it's really cheap to do this here, so let's hit that. And then we may as well rest and recover until we're feeling better. There is that thing we want to buy here, but we were not close, so... Can buy fuel, and we can buy it at a very reasonable rate, so I'm going to buy us some fuel. I mean, do we want to go, like, deeper on the fuel? Where am I at cargo weight-wise? Okay, we're going to drop a bunch of stuff, and it's probably going to be a lot of the old bones we just picked up. We don't have anything we can sell here, and fuel doesn't add weight, right? We're at 69 now, and then I buy another one, and yeah, for some reason, fuel does not add weight. It seems like such an obvious system. I'm going to buy a whole bunch. We're going to try to make it out to Athena. Try to make it out to Athena in a safe way this time. So we're going to go big on fuel. And then... Do I want to compress my disquieting incidents into an ordeal? Yeah, sure. Let's do this and then re-sanity up. Oh, apparently my sanity's not low enough for me to have access to that option. We're going to preach the word of Angle Crab, even though we already know it doesn't work. You may as well. Listen, we told that guy we would preach about Angle Crab. Okay, and with that, I think we are ready to move on. So... your ambition should be... Oh, right. Sorry, I do have to drop cargo. I had totally forgotten already. I don't think we want any of these, to be perfectly honest with you. A meandering treatise... Maybe worth dropping, but it's not my first priority. Let's drop all but one of the golems. We don't have any particular use for golems, but, you know, it's good to have a thing in case you need the thing. We have 3 dangerous beasts that I think are quite valuable. I'm reluctant to drop those. We need to lose 2 more pounds. Historical curio, for sure. Okay, let's go this way. Pour over the map. So we're mostly going east, right? We should go through Glitterberg into Scornvaunt to Athena. Did we have a good reason to go to Bluesteel, back to the Bluesteel Court? I don't think we did. Yeah, we'll just take this sort of this smiley route here. So, on to Glitterberg, east and south. And so, east, where you will find the glorious Overqueen, where she squats on her throne of mud. That doesn't sound that glorious. You can't fool me. We may as well interact with the tree and just burn the lumber immediately for fuel. Right, there's no benefit to not doing this. Okay, I wonder if you can get different kinds of engines that can be fueled with different things. Ooh, that's a larger building than usual. Let's have a look. It's just a big church. It's a totally normal big church. Okay, disquieting incidents. It's hard to know when we'll have good opportunities to replenish our sanity, so maybe I should be a little bit more careful. Maybe we shouldn't just interact with every object that we have the option to interact with. was going to say, it's been a little while since we've seen anything that was obviously trying to kill us. Oh, that isn't even. Strange glowing vapors trail in our wake. It's not even in like the top 10 weirdest things out here. Okay, fleeing, desperately fleeing. I do not like wasps. Strong real-world feelings about the idea of a giant wasp pursuing me. We really do need to pick up another cargo car. Alright, so where are we relative to the we just want to go? I'm going to avoid that encounter down there, again, because of sanity. We're just going to go straight east for a bit. This beetle is moving in the jerky way that suggests that it is after us, but no, in fact I am wrong. Well, do you have any maps to trade? No. Okay. A miserable caravan of hooded plague victims, illegally fleeing from quarantined Glitterburg. They limp along without looking up, and trail the dead behind them. Ooh, do we want to go to the quarantine city? I mean, yeah, we do. I'm sure there'll be no consequences. Hey, look, it's pleasant looking. The walls are made out of gumdrops. Glitterburg is a jeweled city, as small and perfect as every gem that decorates it. The streets are inlaid with pearl and sapphire, the walls are dazzling mosaics, and the Grand Palace itself is a blossoming cacophony of ruby and crystal and rose-cut diamond. The city is a huge, hideous ornament, and its people are dying. Maybe there's something we could do. Maybe. Let's gather news. The streets are quiet. If you can find a townsperson, they're willing to speak to you. A prophet has proclaimed that Lady Papillon's lustful excess is to blame for the doom of Glitterburg. A witch has claimed that a terrible curse hangs over the city like a shroud. well, the triumph of Lady Papillon. Our character's like, yeah, alright, get it if you can, I mean... I feel like we should volunteer. I think our character's fairly altruistic, right? Coming from... I shouldn't say, coming from the priesthood, obviously we're altruistic. There are a lot of bad priests in the world, but our character is not one of them. A few brave or foolish souls are allowed through the quarantine every day, providing succor to the afflicted beyond. It's the only way to cross the barricade. But also we're doing it because it's a good thing to do. The soldiers at the barricade usher you through, warning you that you will be searched for buboes on your return. It's a bubonic plague, apparently. You advance through the street, cautious as a war party, but you're just a ragged group of healers in white robes with white flags. Some of the stacks of burning bodies are higher than your head, and the air fills with their smoke. Most of the houses are empty or barricaded shut. You hear laughter in the distance, but it doesn't sound happy. When you arrive at the hospital, you find the conditions abysmal. Sick lie in rows on the stone floor, groaning and filthy. You cannot tell the dying from the dead. I mean, the groaning. The groaning is how you tell. Yeah. We have some guts. I don't know that our character has a lot of medical knowledge, but we're gonna try. We have a doctor. You help out for a time. You haul the dead to the pits or the pyre. You administer laudanum. You stroke the fevered brows. You even clean bedpans and wash sheets. In all honesty, you don't make much of a difference. You are a drop of water in an ocean of pus. But to a few unfortunate men and women, you provide comfort and dignity which they would otherwise have lacked. You don't make much of a difference. You're a drop of water. The ocean is made up of drops of water, man. Like, every little bit helps. The doctors pack their bags. Already, it's time to go. Back to a brighter, fresher world. And hey, we did some good out there. We also should probably take a moment here and rest and recover. Glitterburg is naturally subdued, but the plague hasn't put an end to all the natural rhythms of life. You find a pub that seems quietly cheerful, even as the corpse wagon trundles past its door. You drink and talk and sing and quietly hope that you won't wake up tomorrow with a bubo. I think it's bubo, not bubo. We say bubonic, not bubonic, right? Yeah, probably. Alright. You feel a little better, and we're going to do that a couple of times, obviously, because sanity is important. Can't do it again, and do they have anything interesting for sale here at the Church of the Loving Gods? Folk of the Entamark worship only gods who offer love in return. The list has become vanishingly small since the Empire of Thread began its predations. These congregants are struck by plague and desperate for divine mercy. Okay, so we can sell medicine. It is awful that we can sell the ineffective remedy for more than the actually medicinal herbs. South, nothing but Mycenae. East, to a bloated, hanging slave market. You know, because it's all good times down here. Everything is just so pleasant, so unendingly pleasant. I don't really want to search for a book. We don't need a book. We won't benefit from having a book. I would just end up throwing it in the engine anyway. So it's pretty important that we make it back to the Carmine Palace with a huge amount of money at some point. It was 6,500, right? We could totally make that. When we take a long journey out and then come back to the City of Keys, we make a huge amount of money very quickly. Let's gaze into the pure water. There's something hypnotic about my own reflection. I think it's the whiskers. Your reflection shimmers and splinters. It reforms as a grinning skeleton with a blood-dripping heart stuffed crudely into its left eye socket. You fall back, startled, because that's not where hearts go. Who would put a heart there? Who could be so irresponsible? It's like some people have never played Operation. Alright, well that's just free fuel. So can I... no, we don't actually have the lumber until we press this, and then I have to open the cargo window again and then burn the thing. That's a little bit of a shame. It would be nice if you could just do it right there in that menu. Or like maybe as part of the event, you know, you had the option to cut down the tree and then either take the lumber aboard or immediately shovel it into the burner. Because that's got to be a thing that people do a fairly significant amount of the time, right? A common use case. There's something red. Yeah, alright, let's do this. We should continue doing this. Also, that was a weird sound, right? There was a weird sound as we went to turn to the right. I guess it must have been from the beetle. How far are we? Okay. Not far at all, it turns out. So Scornvaunt sounds like a real bad place. I have no idea why our passenger would want to go there. I guess if it's a slave market, we maybe in fact have an idea of why our passenger wants to go there, but it's not a good idea. So I hate it here, already. A many-tiered city of slender spires and white pulp suspended from the ceiling by 1,000 pale threads. This is the nexus of the Entomark's slave trade. Iron chains and cages dangle from the Hive City's underbelly. 16 apprehensions for that. Yeah, let's gather news. The serfs of Scornvaunt are desperately afraid of giving offense. You'll have to speak to the wasp-riding slave takers, who will answer only to coin and scorn there with a capital S, which is interesting. The feud between the houses of Rubric and Lazarus is growing more violent by the day. One of the hives has partially collapsed. The Confectorate have gifted Lady Scorn with a basket of screaming fruit. That doesn't sound like a very good gift to me. I would consider it a gift for people to take away a basket of screaming fruit. Let's drop off our passenger and take on a new passenger. A hunched figure waves you down at the station. Someone trying to escape, one expects. Yeah, sure, City of Angels. We will head to the City of Angels at some point. Let's try preaching the word of Angle Crab. These people might be into a thing that's about, these people might be into a dogma that is about folding space open, that you may walk right out of it, right? You can see how that would appeal here. The deeper you venture into the hive, the worse the horrors it reveals to you. Some of the thralls are tumorous approximations of humanity, inflated by stings. I'm very uncomfortable here. Some just slump, too weak to move, even as slave drivers thrash them. Some are dead, and seem to have been so for a while. You don't know which is worse, the screams or the bleak acceptance that lines every face. You turn back when you come upon the swollen-bellied hosts. Any god who could allow this is not worth worshipping. These people don't need salvation, they just need to be saved. Okay, flee, find a human place. The screams follow you. They take root in you. I'm legitimately upset. I do not like being here. I do not like anything about this place. Alright, let's rest and recover a little bit, because we desperately need the sanity, and I'm concerned we're gonna go to the slave market, and I'm gonna if I have the opportunity, I'm going to flip some tables and set something on fire. But my guess is the things we're going to see at the slave market are going to take a toll on us, so let's get our sanity back first. A thrall greets you, smiling, at the tavern's doorway. A thrall serves you at the bar, chatting with quick and easy wit. You can almost forget that they are not here by choice. You drink with your crew and have some semblance of a good time. This is a classic move, right? You don't want to make the customers uncomfortable. So, wow, you really don't get a lot of sanity back, and it's expensive. Okay, we're done with that. Visit the slave market, I guess. Human beings are carted to and fro in rattling cages. Whips slash against contorted bodies. The stink of blood and sweat is all-encompassing. It blankets the world like a shroud. You wander, for a time, through a tableau of brutally efficient atrocity. You see horrible things, and you will see them again that night as you lie awake in bed, and you will see them a third time in tortured sleep. You leave the market, but it doesn't leave you. This would be a little bit more effective if, like, it's sort of driving the point home again in a lot of ways. This place sucks and I hate it here. What do they sell? They sell food at a reasonable value. Or they sell fuel, rather, at a reasonable value. They sell scorn honey and also eggs of scientific value. Neither of these are things that we need, as far as I'm aware. So I think we're gonna leave. Also, I just don't want to take wasp eggs on board. Just not in that place. I hate everything about this place. It's very bad. It's a very bad time. I don't like bees and wasps and honeycomb and flying, stinging insects, and obviously it's probably pretty clear that I have some feelings about human bondage. It's a deeply unpleasant area in more ways than some of these places are unpleasant. I get really uncomfortable, as you can tell, with depictions of slavery in games, like to the point where I often will just be like, I'm not interested in playing this. And I'm not 100% sure why that affects me so much more than some other things. Like, obviously, slavery bad, but I think a lot of things are bad. Broadly speaking, gun violence bad, but I don't have that same level of discomfort with games that depict gun violence, or even games where I am expected to commit violence with a gun. I mean, I love Doom, right? I had a blast playing Doom. I play a lot of shooters. So I don't know what it is about slavery that, like, sets me off quite so much. It could be because here in America, we have some... There's a strong cultural legacy of the stuff that might just be rooted down in my subconscious in a way that makes me uncomfortable, trying desperately to maneuver around this so that we don't have to go through the middle of the room. The train is not interested in us, but I was afraid it might have been. But yeah, I wonder if that's all it is. It's just that, boy, there sure was some slavery here, and it was real bad, and that makes me... Uncomfortable is not a good word. I've been saying uncomfortable. It's not just... It's something other than that. I don't know. But ooh, helicopter. It extends the point. I don't like playing the dark elves in Total War Warhammer, because sometimes you have to press a button that is about managing slaves, and every time the game asks me to do that, I'm like, yeah, this sucks. I don't want to be here. The crumpled shell of some otherworldly vehicle. Let's peek inside. Oh good, more heavy stuff. So this is the exact same outcome we had last time we found one of these. Let's drop the old bones, which we really don't need. Wait, did we not pick up old bones? Did we pick up a corpse? Man. Do I want to try to carry home all of these beasts? We know where you can sell beasts, and I think Dangerous Beast Alive is quite valuable, right? We can't part with the warding irons or the Aronax silk. We could, I suppose, drop the sacks of salt, or the single sack of salt that we have, because even though we do need it, we also can buy more sacks of salt at the place where we need to use it, so it's not like... It would just be wasting a little bit of money. It's not like we're losing an opportunity. I'm gonna get rid of this bizarre effigy. That's £3, and then we need to drop another 5. Maybe it is the dangerous beast. I guess we don't need a cultist paraphernalia. I don't want to drop my memory box. Probably don't need this grimoire. And then historical curio. That gets us down, yeah. Alright. Let's roll from there. And I think I think that maybe helps get at it a little bit, like thinking about the way I feel in Warhammer when they're like, what do you want to do with these slaves? Because it's not uncomfortable. It's not like, hey, could you please not say the S word around me? It's like I'm disgusted a little bit. Like I'm like, ugh. So that's a very different thing. Maybe that's why the reaction feels stronger to me. In any case, we're not going back to Scornvaunt unless we absolutely have to. Even if they got rid of all the slavery stuff, I still wouldn't want to go to where all the wasps are. I may have overpurchased fuel. We might not have needed this much fuel. I mean, we bought it at the lowest price we've ever seen for fuel, right? 25 seems to be like the floor for that. So I guess I don't feel too bad about it. It's not like we're not going to use all of it before we finish the game or anything. Alright, this is it, right? Yep. We've reached Afina, and we absolutely can get back this time. Now, I'm going to level with you. I don't exactly remember everything that we did here before. Obviously, we start by searching for the Prince's Heart. 22 apprehensions. So there's the Aniseed Tunnel, the Hooded Merchants. I do remember this. The Heart came to learn from us a few weeks ago. We taught him well, but he is here no more. We know where he went, but nothing is free. Provide us with 3 irreplaceable objects or a single sacrifice for the lake. Right, and I was like, I don't really want to sacrifice a person because that feels out of character. We could take our prisoner, we could take our passenger prisoner, but there's a decent chance that our prisoner, or I keep seeing the word prisoner, that our passenger is a person who was escaping slavery, right? They were all huddled up at the dock, trying not to be obviously identifiable. I would feel really bad about getting a person like that out of Scornvaunt and then just throwing them in the River of Tar. So if we take a prisoner in combat, I guess we'll come back and do the thing, or maybe we'll find some occult relics. We still we do have another use for occult relics. One of the thing for our 3-eyed crew member requires an occult relic, and we still haven't seen a single one anywhere. We've seen a lot of paraphernalia. I guess for right now we have nothing we're willing to give. We're unlikely to be able to recover sanity here. We're just going to have to continue on. We should absolutely gather news, though. A cauldron of boiling sugar has overturned, burning the flesh from a dozen workers. The treacle mines have been closed amid authorities' fear of an accident on the same scale as the Makara disaster. The hooded merchants were seen wandering at night. That's probably not that uncommon. That doesn't really sound like news. In all things, defer to the hooded ones. It definitely feels a little bit like Night Vale around here. Preach the word of Anglecrab. Silence weighs heavily. No one comes to listen, though you think you feel hidden eyes boring into you when you finally give up. When you return to the Kinetipede, you find it covered in tar and graffiti. An evil-looking stone idol has been placed on your bed, and you have no idea how it got there. And then I smashed it. Yeah, take that. Gained a small amount of sanity. The unsettling face of the statuette twists and buckles under each hammer blow. Each strike seems only to further contort its expression with anger and fright. Finally, the damned thing shatters into splinters of stone, one of them taking a deep slice out of you. Somewhat non-ideal. But the god that effigy depicted is probably long dead, and frankly, we needed the sanity. The lake stirs. Ah, man. Alright, we're gonna go check it out, but we probably I bet I'm gonna lose some... Okay, we didn't actually lose sanity. We just saw something unpleasant. As you watch the ripples spread across the lake, a hooded head emerges near the bank. Then another, and another. A dozen hooded ones come marching out of the molten licorice, each holding a swaying lantern. You call out, but they ignore you. They march past without turning their heads. For days after, you are tormented by nightmares where something colossal and black and ill-defined follows them out onto the shore. That's the same thing we saw last time we were here. Which, of course, did not occur. We just had a prophetic dream, etc. Let us... I'm pretty sure we don't want to fill the memory box until we have some idea what we want to put in it. Also, it's heavier when it's filled, right? So we don't want to give weight to our thoughts in so many different ways. I think we could do this later. Hey, you know what? Let's have the nightmare. All right. I think then we're good to get out of here. There's nothing else of value for us except, having pressed this quest forward. But we picked up the what do you call it? The news from the area, which is certainly valuable. We do have a terrible secret. I am disinclined to give it to you. I think 110 is less than we get for terrible secrets from our information broker friends, quote unquote friends. So I guess let's just move on. So, to the east, there is a place called the Empire of Thread. I'm pretty curious about that. We don't actually have anything over there, right? Yeah. Could just head back up. I mean, it's probably worth going to the City of Masks, because I would like to not have to carry around the warding iron. It is heavy, it turns out. So maybe we could make a sort of a grand trip over to the Scars of Shang. We do have the fuel. And I bet there's other stuff in the middle here. You know what? We're going to go for it. We're going to take the long... No, let's go to the Old Hallow. Let's just zoom back up to friendlier territory. So north. You will travel far and find all the doors locked. It is pretty weird. It is a little ominous that there are all those locked doors. One has to wonder who built them and why. I mean, most of these entryways are not actually doorways, right? In the sense that it's not like there's a door hung from them that just isn't closed. Maybe we should intentionally hold on. We're going to go north until we see a locked door. I don't think we actually got close to a locked door before. And I am kind of curious if you have an encounter, like if you get text when you close in on one. And yeah, I'm intentionally avoiding a lot of the encounters for right now. There's so many of them that like the only value you get out of them is an object that we couldn't afford to carry. Weird to see 2 helicopters crashed like that. We're not going to be able to... Oh, never mind. Slick maneuver. And no, the answer is no, you do not get a little encounter. If I were the driver of that Scorpion, I'd be very annoyed with the thing that just happened there. Hey, there was a statue that just disappeared. That's unsettling. I failed to engage the thing. There we go. A test of vigilance, search for a drink. We got a sack of salt, which we don't need. And it's 2 pounds. Like, I might... Famous throughout the house. Maybe we don't want to get rid of this trout. This meandering treatise isn't very valuable to us. Do we have a thing that makes sense? Like, we could drop a gallows candle, probably. Yeah, I'll drop one of these. Oh, no, together they were 1 weight. Well, whatever. We'll drop them both. It's fine. I forgot how the display works, and I thought it was saying they were £1 each. That saved us some money. I don't remember exactly how expensive the sacks of salt were. I don't think it's a huge amount. But if we're going to try to save up for that 6,500 guinea hull improvement, it makes sense to do our best. Every little bit counts, right? So we didn't, obviously, we didn't find anything during the trip where we traveled, but ended up dying in the darkness. Because if we had found a city, we probably would have been able to buy fuel there. Yep, got me. It got me again. Oh no, when we got kind of close to the rock, the ship slowed down automatically. Well, I'm gonna issue terrible threats to them. We have some grit, right? These guys are, trying to kidnap us and bring us back as sacrifices for sale. Hey, you know where I really don't want to go again? Alright, we failed the grit challenge. They return their own threats with gusto, although without much adherence to anatomical reality. Then we just try to flee. Okay, I'll take that. Oops, that's not the button I wanted. Turn on the heart light. I feel a little bad avoiding combat, because, like, clearly a lot of work went into this combat system, but it just doesn't seem like fighting is ever worth the cost. It must be the case that sometimes you can loot some valuable stuff, but so far, all we've ever seen is combat where after we do it, we're like, wow, that's a lot of guineas for repair, and we got a thing out of it that was worth 10. You guys don't want any part of me, so... I'm wondering how great the spaces between significant locations can really be. Because there's a couple of ways you could think about that, right? It might be the case that there aren't any huge stretches of empty terrain because video game trying to be exciting, and those areas would be quite boring, as you are seeing here. But also, if you're trying to convey the house as sort of a vast, uncertain darkness with just these little points of light inside of it, you would do that most effectively, mechanically, by having big open stretches between the civilizations. So basically, my point is, I don't know if we should expect there not to be settlements for such long periods of time. Okay, this guy definitely want to interact with us. Or if we should assume that we are missing something when we go this many rooms in a row without stopping anywhere. So I think we just want to go west from here until we hit Old Hallow. And Old Hallow itself is not terribly interesting, right? We have our investigation to pursue there, but aside from that, it's going to be a real short visit, I think. Yeah, alright, let's stop and say hi. Enter the cottage. Gained a deactivated golem. I don't want that. Why don't I have the option of just not picking it up? It does feel like that should be a thing, right? Like, on the panel that says you got a deactivated golem, there could be a binary choice there. And you wouldn't even have to write, like, there doesn't need to be any text beyond it or anything. Are we missing? Okay, no, we're... Also, if they wanted you to engage in combat more, I feel like it would maybe be harder to escape. Everything is slower than you are, so clearly they want you to be able to avoid the combat if you feel like avoiding the combat. Now let's gather news. A guest tried to violate the accord. His body was found hanging from the tree. The proprietress has announced a new flavor of cider. Gumption. I don't know that I want a mouthful of gumption. Let's investigate Mrs. Autumnal's whereabouts. The proprietress has been here as long as the tree above. You wonder if she'll remember a guest from 40 years ago. She may have used a pseudonym, says Banjo. Autumnal had more identities than I could keep track of. A plump woman, brown hair, freckles, and the most unusual eyes. One brown, one yellow. Ah, now that rings a bell, says the proprietress. She gave her name as Jenny, she did. Stayed for almost a year, hardly left her room. Suspect she came here for protection. We get a lot of that type. The fearful ones. Fearful? Her? Well, maybe she was worried you'd come after her for killing you? No, the timeline's all wrong. She was first seen here before I died. He turns to the proprietress. Where did she go when she left? The proprietress sighs. I can protect the guests here from most things, but not all. We don't allow blood to be spilled, but some people will grab a guest and take them elsewhere. Perhaps she was abducted from her room in the night. Well, did she leave anything behind? As a matter of fact, yes, says the proprietress. I kept them in the lost and found vault, just in case she came to claim them. You have a vault? Asks Banjo eagerly. She shoots him a sharp look. Stay here. She opens a trapdoor behind the bar and climbs down. 10 minutes later, she returns with a sealed letter. Ah, this is from Summer, says Banjo, scanning the letter. I mean, it's not signed, but I'd know the hand anywhere. Why did she write to Autumnal but not me? He hands you the letter and knocks back his cider. The letter is abrupt, in hasty script. Watch your back. Now, before you ask, says Banjo, I don't know if that's a threat or a warning. The drink trickles out from between his ribs as he stands to leave. Well, that's interesting. It doesn't really give us anywhere to go next, though. We're having a hard time building a narrative about Banjo's crew, or rather I am. My suspicion is he knows something more than he's letting on. Let's drink with the patrons. The man at the bar is lithe and handsome, with a gleam in his eyes that suggests trouble. He accepts your drink with a grin. That's nice to drink in peace, he says, tossing back the cider. Out there, I have an eye out for danger every hour of the day, but the Hallow is a safe haven. Thanks for your kindness, stranger. Why are you so paranoid outside the Hallow seems like kind of a silly question to ask, because it's dangerous out there, is why. But the fact that we're allowed to ask it makes me wonder if maybe there's a more specific answer that we'd benefit from seeing. I'm gonna ask him. Well, I'm on the run from the law. Another cocky grin. I was a student at Incarnate University and got in a bit of hot water. They say that if you eat the flesh of an animal scholar, you get their wisdom. It sounded easier than studying to me, and I had a hell of an exam coming up. I picked out the biggest, plumpest turkey of a professor you can imagine. Never tasted anything better. He scratches an equation absent-mindedly on the table. And now I can do partial derivatives. That actually doesn't sound like an easier way. It's not that hard to go to class, is the thing. Alright, well, I'm not interested in seducing him because I am worried that he would try to kill and eat me. I am also an animal in many ways, and kind of a scholar. It seems like a great danger. Let's move away rapidly. He watches you go with glittering eyes. And then, yeah, let's chill here because it's very cheap to do so. Drink to old times, and yeah, we get huge chunks of sanity back for very, very little money. That's lovely. Alright, anything interesting to buy here at the bar? Hallow cider, I mean all the kinds of liquor, obviously. I don't know that any of this is particularly valuable anywhere else. It seems like places mostly have pretty similar prices for things. Our terrible secret's worth 220 guineas here. Let's hold on to it for the moment. I don't remember if we get a better price than that from our information brokers. Let's head north and we'll see. We're going back to the City of Keys anyway, so we'll have an opportunity to verify. 220 seems pretty good though. So we've already gone to Fargyle Keep on this trip. There's not really any reason for us to do anything other than through the City of Masks straight to the City of Keys, right? When we get there, we'll make lots of money, and also, of course, there's other stuff we need to do northward. So, Banjo barges into your quarters, holding up Autumnal's letter in one rotten claw. Good news, he shouts. I'm an idiot, an intolerable moron. That I wouldn't characterize that as news exactly. Har bloody har, says Banjo, dropping the letter down in front of you. Watch your back, the letter says at the top in shaky capitals, but below it, in the color of smoked wood, is a second paragraph in beautiful cursive. They got Mr. Winter, it reads, and I don't know what's happened to Doc. We need to rethink our plan. We can't hide forever. Find me in Arozim, where it's nothing but ice. Invisible ink, explains Banjo. And that should have been the first thing I checked for. Autumnal must have faked her own abduction and made her way to Arozim. Okay, that's interesting. I don't feel like this is any of my business, and I also don't think it's relevant to the case. Or perhaps Autumnal was genuinely abducted and killed before she could leave. Banjo looks queasy. Gods, you're just brimming with optimism, huh? Alright, fine. To Arozim. I don't know where that is. I think we're going to keep Banjo on for a while, so I'm going to wage a quiet war with him. War as hell. Actually, hold on. We have a ton of apprehensions. Oh, and apparently I still have more... No, I don't. Okay. Stats-wise, our grit is not awesome. We could push our guile up further, but honestly, we're good at spirit already. I wonder if we should... Should we try to, have one stat that's way crazy high? I'm not sure what the correct use of our limited apprehensions is. We have 112 of them, though. It feels like we should spend them. All right, what's really low? We're probably going to replace Rutherford at some point, so it probably doesn't help to push his stat up. Let's push Esoterica up. Let's do that. If we had an occult relic, we could do some of this. Let's just engage in a little bit of occultism. It never hurt anybody, says Pen Pusher. I mean, not physically. Yeah, I love esoterica. The occult is just a blanket term we apply to everything we don't understand. If I wasn't willing to push these kinds of boundaries, I'd still be sitting in the kelp fortress worshipping people because they have differently shaped heads. Now, where did I put my candles? Pen Pusher has made his quarters into a library of squirming books. He picks a ritual from one, apparently at random, and draws a hexagon on the floor in chalk. My success rate is variable, I must admit, but I have a good feeling about this one. The ritual is long and complex, and Pen Pusher has to repeat it several times to engender any sort of effect at all. Oh, did you hear that? He asks excitedly. Definitely some kind of whispering from beyond a hideous veil. How exciting! Nothing further seems to happen, however, and Pen Pusher finally gives up. Well, better luck next time, I'm sure. Yeah, let's find out. I'm wondering, if we push his stat level high enough, I'm wondering if we would actually see a different result here. I'm just going to spend a bunch. I'm going to spend all of our apprehensions on this. Oh, the sweet stats. We almost made it to 50, which is an arbitrary threshold, but listen, that's how video games work. They're all about arbitrary thresholds. Let's stare down into the well. More divine scrutiny of Abja. I think we've got quite a lot of that. Quite a lot of Abja's attention. I have no idea if that's going to turn out to be a good thing or a bad thing. We've gotten a lot of divine scrutiny and divine contempt over the course of the game, over the broad cast of godly characters, and as far as I can tell, none of it's done anything yet. It does seem like kind of a strange assumption that it would, right? Why am I so sure that this is going to have an effect at all? You know what, I'm just not even going to bother. Let's get back to friendly cities. Alright, here in the City of Masks, we are going to help fix the drifting bean. You have the materials? Agnes asks. Of course I have the materials. Agnes holds up the silk and whistles appreciatively. Did you know this stuff can stop bullets? Now we can finally patch the canopy. Also, I brought you this. Agnes runs her hand over the rune-carved metal. Excellent, just what we need. A test of graft is unfortunate. This is a bad time for this. Okay, but apparently listen, I just pass all my challenges. It turns out I'm great at everything. You and Agnes work on the dirigible tirelessly, while Misery Guts watches and occasionally smokes a sullen cigarette. Finally, after days of sleepless welding and hammering, the dirigible looks almost as good as new. This is not good work to do while tired. Don't engage in sleepless welding. Agnes babbles her gratitude. She shakes your hand so vigorously she seems to be trying to remove it. I was wondering, says Agnes, once she's calmed down, once the repairs are finished, we'll still have a lot of work left to do. Do you want to be an investor in the Drifting Bean? In exchange for a little more help, we can give you a portion of our profits every month. Yeah, what kind of help do you need exactly? Well, we'll need hazard coffee for starters. We can get hold of the regular kind, but all hazard coffee keeps getting all bought up by Kara's flag. 5 crates ought to do. And we'll need a good third worker, she grins. Me and Misery Guts have the passion, but we can't manage a whole coffee house on our own. Yeah, I could do that. I can bring you some people. Alright. Thank you, she says, grabbing your hand. You won't regret this. Misery Guts shakes his head. You should have got out when you had the chance, he says hollowly. Agnes walks away, already planning new blimp-based puns for coffees. Zeppuccino, she suggests. Misery Guts groans. Okay, so 5 hazard coffee and a third employee. We can't buy hazard coffee here, can we? But we can buy it... I mean, I assume we can't. There's Kara... Yeah, we absolutely can. Kara's flag is the name of a shop right here, not an organization in another town, as I had assumed. Well, shoot, let's do that then. And we'll just give her one of our crew. It's fine. Ah, here's our favorite investor, declares Agnes happily. We're in the air, we're getting the coffee house together. Soon the Drifting Bean will be a reality. And we do indeed have what you need. Ah, wonderful. I'll just take this up to the bean. Agnes goes to change into her goggles, oven mitts, and containment suit. Do you need oven mitts to... I guess that's not the part of that that's weird. Okay, you have a worker in mind. We could give her the golem, but I'm just going to give her a swabby. Like, a swabby's less valuable to us, right? The golem might actually be worth something. Ollie Stone has volunteered, I've decided. It's a safer workplace than a kinetipede, even with all the unstable hydrogen. Agnes jumps up and shakes Ollie Stone's hand vigorously. Oh, you won't regret this, she declares. At the Bean, all workers are treated fairly. You're part of the family now. Good luck, Ollie. It sounds like you might need it. The Drifting Bean is ready for business. The Drifting Bean's opening is a subdued affair. A dozen or so spectators come to watch it launch. It'll never compete with Caro's flag, one man mutters. And maybe it won't. But as the Bean's shadow falls on the city below, more and more people clamber up that long rope ladder and sit at a rickety table. I would never do this. This is a crazy idea for a business. Why, it's jam-packed, declares Agnes, obviously bursting with pride. Even Misery Guts' frown is only half-hearted. This is all thanks to you, SB. Come back every month for your share of the profit. It's the least we can do. You glance out the window. The city of masks is spread below you like a twinkling jigsaw. So yeah, we've set up some passive income for ourselves here. Seems like it's obviously the thing to do. Let's have a celebratory coffee, just because I'm curious what'll happen. Oh, I don't touch the stuff, says Agnes with a bright smile. I hate it. Okay, well then down the rope ladder we go. 40 apprehensions, wow. The Drifting Bean glides away beneath a banquet of stars. Soon the coffee blimp and its energetic proprietress become the talk of the city. You can now collect your monthly share of the profits. 70, it's going to be a little while before it pays off the 5 crates of hazard coffee we just bought, but we'll get there. I have no idea how long we're going to be, in terms of game days, how long we're going to be in here. Alright, let's gather some news. Memory theft is on the rise, Lord Rampant has returned from another expedition making the usual wild claims, and a new play is causing controversy with its risque content. All sounds quite familiar. Okay, so Terrible Secrets are 170 guineas, and also a point of reputation, and we don't really know what the value of reputation for the City of Masks is, right? Should we sell it? We can't sell our Hideous Revelation, we need it for something. I'm not really sure what I want to do with all this. We don't have to worry about this right now. We're not desperate for money. Let's just wander the streets, first of all. You seek out curious nooks and crannies, avoiding popular attractions in favor of places that have fallen between the seat cushions of history. A small death church on Grisolia Avenue, shuttered and dilapidated, attracts your attention. There are very few churches to Old Lady Death, the 9th sanctioned god. To worship her is considered unnecessary, or perhaps even uncouth. She simply is, and always will be. Might as well worship the house itself. I'm kind of surprised that we don't see more of that, actually. The lack of attention has not served this church well. It is a broken shell, its windows broken and boarded, one wall slumped, its little weather vane rusted to a skeleton. Inside there are pews, just an altar, which is just a block of unadorned wood. A candle sits on one corner, half gutted and still dripping. If we had a gallows candle still, we could do a thing. But candle smoke drifts. Someone was here. Let's call out to them. You shout, shattering the silence. Is anybody there? And then you see her, standing calmly by the altar, as though she's been there since you walked through the door. She is a masked woman, thin and cylindrical as a railing, her hands cupping a candle flame like furled wings. You recognize her, Lady Stymphalion, rumored to hold a high seat on the shrouded council. Her mask is the face of a vicious bird, with iron beak and hollow eyes. I don't meet many worshippers of the old lady, she says, seating herself in a pew. Did this church always have pews? Yes, weren't they mentioned in the last block of text? Her booming voice seems to make the dusty air of the church dance. Sit with me a while. I have assorted candies to share, and half a peach. Sure, who can say no to half a peach? Her beak dips toward you. A fruit is pressed into one palm, and a box of dark chocolates into the other. Eat. Not many can find this church without an invitation, and we are all very curious. All? You glance up. Rows of pews, all occupied by silent worshippers in faded clothes, heads bowed. Did this church always have worshippers? Eat, says the masked woman again, softly, and address the congregation. Hey, it turns out I'm pretty good at that thing. She seems to like... She said something about the fruit. The only thing she mentioned about the chocolate was that she had some. So I think she probably wants us to eat the fruit? Juice runs wet down your chin, over your fingers. There's a strange aftertaste, something that lingers in the back of your throat. Lady Stymphalion lays a huge pale hand on your shoulder. It's time. She pushes you firmly, irresistibly to your feet, and we address the congregation, which is the thing I have some experience with. You stand before the grey-robed masses, a vast altar towering behind you, spreading its skeletal wings, 100 candles glimmering through the ossified ribs. You open your mouth. What will you talk about? Usually a good thing to think about before opening your mouth. So we could try to talk about death. We do have the reflection on mortality that allows us to do this, but our insight could be a little bit better. If I dare name a deity in the Temple of Death, I might upset them. We could crack a joke. Listen, that's a real, that's a classic move, right? You open your sermon with just like a little bit of a joke, a gentle one. I'm gonna do it. I have some droll recollections to share. You clear your throat. Time to break the ice. Something relevant to the audience, of course, is always good. I hear the death rate around here is, very high. 1 per person. The silence that follows is the kind of silence usually only heard in forbidden tombs at midnight. 1 per person. 1 per person. Lady Stymphalion stands, her long dress sweeping behind her. SB, these people have come a long way. No jokes. So what we've learned about our character now is that he is terrible at telling jokes. So we could talk about Lady Stymphalion. She sits before you, hatching some plan around you. Perhaps I could turn the congregation against her. But do I want to? I'm going to try to just talk about death, and we're going to cross our fingers here. Failed. Okay, not good. You speak with grand rhetoric and sweeping gestures. The church darkens. Your grey-robed congregation seem to grow in size, until they are a sea of colossal shifting silhouettes. An unspeakable dread settles upon you. The juice on your chin is burning like acid. As you falter and stumble over your words, the seething grey mass rises like a wave and swoops down to claim you. They found you wandering the streets days later, dazed but unharmed. Only one memory after that moment is clear. You were splayed out on the altar, a dissected specimen, your raw innards steaming in the cold air. The curved metal beak of Lady Stymphalion was dipping into you and coming up red. There was no pain, only an unearthly and terrible ecstasy. And Lady Stymphalion was pleading to her god, pleading to be allowed to kill you. It is some time before you can sleep peacefully again. Well, that was a neat story. I wish I hadn't failed the roll at the end of it, because I'm very curious where else it might have gone. But perhaps we'll have another opportunity. We may as well rest and recover here. 20 guineas. I'm trying to remember what it costs in the City of Keys. This is fine. You spent a long time in darkness. The crew needs a couple of days. We're going through a lot of money. Keeping people in one piece. Okay, is there anything else we want to buy here before we leave? Probably not, right? Oh, we do need some laudanum for something. Hold on, I'm going to tab out and grab my my notes, which I did not leave visible on the other monitor because I'm an amateur. Sorry, we don't need laudanum. That's right. We needed laudanum for Fargyle Keep, or for one of the paths in Fargyle Keep, but we took a different path, and so we're all cool on that. And so, we don't really need to do anything else here. Yeah, I think we're good to just head north. All of the interesting cities, further north. Wait, did it say the City of Engines was north of us? That's not right, is it? Okay, I guess that's somewhat north. We're going hard north, very north. And at this point, we've actually we've spent a little bit of our weight, so we can pick some stuff up. Although a deactivated golem is a pretty heavy first grab. We are at 48. Well, I'm willing to throw out the second deactivated golem if it comes to it. Aw, I thought I could make a maneuver. These bandits want me to pay the bandit tax. Here's what I feel like. I feel like we're just gonna run. I don't know, maybe we could have just fought them. We probably could have just fought them. But again, like, what are the odds that they would have had loot that was worth the amount of hull we would have lost? We really do need to get a fourth weapon. Once we get a fourth weapon, we can maybe do more experimental combat and see if maybe we've just been unlucky so far with the kinds of loot you get. Given the existence of the combat system, the amount of work that was clearly put into it, it's hard to imagine that they would make it such a bad idea to engage in combat. some of the time it must be worth it. Yeah, sometimes you must, like, learn terrible secrets or something. We've just probably had some bad luck on the loot. Where are we at? Okay, we made it, is where we're at. Oh, hey, apparently I have a thing. Well, a test of guile. We'll just hide everything. I'm at a disadvantage, but you know, our guile's gotten better. Okay, we passed. They poke around and rip up floorboards and cook themselves a cup of tea on your stove. How dare they? But they don't find any of the secret compartments. And then Tybalt wants to confront his father, and I think this is probably where we're going next. The Balsamic family estate is an imposing mansion on Upside, its expansive grounds enclosed by an iron-wrought fence, the gate guarded by 2 horribly eroded stone gargoyles, and 2 guards, who look a little eroded themselves. Hey, Fred, says Tybalt nervously to one of the guards. Tybalt, the guard snaps to attention. Where you been? Your dad's been going spare. Come on, he'll want to see you right away. The Balsamic Mansion is oppressively gloomy. The lamps are unlit. Fred the guard does his best to cheer the atmosphere with dirty jokes and gossip, but it's no good. The dusty air swallows his words. Tybalt. At the top of the marble staircase is a huge cigar attached to a small gray-haired man. So, you're the one who stole my heir from me, he says to you, barely inclining his head. My name is Lord Tybalt Balsamic III. Fred, leave us. Fred looks very relieved to be dismissed. The elder Tybalt beckons to you both, and you follow him up to his study. The walls are lined with maps and leather-bound books. His desk is polished mahogany. So, Tybalt, you come crawling back. Remembered your duties at last, have you? I feel like I should wait for Tybalt to speak for himself, right? I shouldn't jump in here. If it looks like he's stumbling, we'll interject, but the whole deal here is he's supposed to be taking charge, right? He's failing to do it, but that was the idea. But Tybalt stands frozen and unspeaking, as though paralyzed. Oh yeah, well, he's made a decision. No, you know what? I'm gonna interject myself here. This is probably a better move for us for buying Tybalt time, because this will probably like refocus his dad's anger on us more than on him. You could at least welcome him home. He's your son, for God's sakes. The boy is a fool. Running away to travel in the dark with the likes of you? He could have been killed. Well, I'm not staying here long. Tybalt finally finds his voice. A thin, quavering voice, but a voice nonetheless. And I'll never be what you want me to be, Father. I'm not a fighter or a businessman. I just want to cut people's hair. It's all I want. This again? Asks Lord Balsamic III, reddening. He sweeps his arm across his desk, sending books and papers scattering. This again? He drops into his chair and stubs his cigar out on the priceless wood. Fine. Show me. Go ahead. What? Tybalt looks suddenly terrified. Cut my hair. I want to see my son at his precious work. And hurry up. If you were my butler, I'd have had you beaten for tardiness. Tybalt unpacks his tools as though in a trance. He glances up at you guiltily. Please, leave us alone. I don't want you here for this. Why are you doing this, Tybalt? He's just goading you. I know. Tybalt gulps as he fastens a blanket around his father's shoulders. But this is my only chance to show him that I actually am good at something. Now, please, go. I don't like where this is going, but again, the whole deal here is we're trying to help Tybalt gain some sense of self-determinism. It feels like it would be profoundly shitty for me to be like, no, you don't know what you're talking about, I'm going to not follow your request. So, sure, fine. The door of the study clicks locked behind you. 20 minutes later, it creaks open again. Tybalt stands swaying in the doorway, looking pallid and ill. In one hand, he holds his straight razor. The razor and his hand are dripping red. Okay, that makes a lot of sense, actually. Spee, says Tybalt hoarsely, I need your help. The air of the study is saturated with a copper-tasting tang. The elder Lord Balsamic sits in his chair, head lolled back, neck split open into a red, gormless smile. The floor beneath is blood-soaked. The walls are blood-soaked. There's even spatter on the ceiling. I mean, that makes sense. There's a lot of pressure in some of those neck parts. He also has a perfect haircut. No, I'm not. Why are two of the options me being like, oh my god, what did you do? First of all, this is an incredibly obvious outcome, and secondly, good for Tybalt. He had it coming. It was like a dream, says Tybalt. He just wouldn't stop talking. I had the razor against his throat, and my hand, it moved on its own. He glances just once at his father's corpse, falls to his knees, and is violently sick in the wastepaper bin. Everything all right up there, sir? Calls Fred's voice from the bottom of the staircase. Please, whispers Tybalt, grabbing pathetically at your leg. Help me get out of this. Okay, well, I'm certainly not turning Tybalt in. So do we imitate Lord Balsamic's voice and tell Fred everything's fine, which is some real Weekend at Bernie's shit? Do we bribe Fred to go away? I mean, I need money. Or we could just kill Fred. That's probably not the right option. I'm gonna go for... That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money, and it leaves Fred knowing what happened, which is maybe not the best thing in the long term for Tybalt. So I'm gonna try to imitate Lord Balsamic's voice with my incredible guile. You alright, sir? You sound weird. I'm coming up. You hear Fred's heavy footsteps on the stairs. Oh gods, Tybalt is rocking back and forth. Alright, we're gonna bribe him. I mean, it's... In the long run, again, it might be better for Fred to be dead, but I'm not sure we could actually pull it off. I'm gonna bribe him. Fred counts out the money in awe, his eyes bulging. You've shut the study door and hidden Lord Balsamic's body in a wardrobe. Very generous, he says. I guess I'll take the rest of the evening off then. Thanks, mutters Tybalt. I know your dad didn't treat you too well, lad, says Fred. I couldn't do anything about it, you understand. I'm just a guard. But whatever's gone on tonight, don't worry. I'll forget I ever saw you. So, what are we going to do about the body? Gulps Tybalt when Fred has wandered off. Well, we're gonna put it in the thin place. That's very poetically appropriate. I'm not gonna turn Tybalt in... The top options in this game are a cop. Yeah, Tybalt mentioned a thin place that no one would ever enter except when his father locked them down there. Thin place. Of course, I should have known. A strange calm descends on Tybalt. He stands up and grabs his father by the deadweight legs. Together, you half drag, half carry the corpse down to the cellar. The portraits of a dozen balsamic ancestors stare down at you disapprovingly as you haul their dead descendant inelegantly beneath them. Finally, you reach the trapdoor. I'll go down first, says Tybalt. Dust spirals into the air as he opens it. Can you hear a ragged whispering at the edge of your mind? Your guard captain disappears down the ladder. You drop Lord Balsamic III down into Tybalt's waiting arms. He lays out his father's corpse below, down in the darkness where he'd been locked as a boy. He shuts those milky blue eyes with shaking hands. This is a deeply... Okay, so far I've been like, what's wrong with all the top options? Why are they being so shitty? But apparently the bottom options also can kind of go off the rails. Yeah, let's help Tybalt back up. Tybalt flops to the floor beside you like a stranded fish, gasping for breath. I hate it down there, he mutters after a long moment. I can always feel something standing behind me. I can feel its cold breath on my neck. No one will think to look down there for weeks. He stands up, brushing out the creases in his uniform. But eventually they will, and they'll know it was me. I mean, the guards saw us come in, and if they catch me, I'll hang for sure. He stares down at the trapdoor mutely, then clutches you and sobs for a long time into your shoulder. And then we usher him back to the Connecticut, because we don't really have a lot of other plays here. It's a long time before he stops crying. Well, I mean, we certainly closed that plotline. So I think maybe that, narratively speaking, is a pretty good place for an episode to end. That's going to be it for us for today, and thank you all so much for watching. When you come back next time, tomorrow, we are going to work real hard on reaccumulating the fortune that we have rapidly lost today, because it turns out you need an awful lot of money to ply the house. And we'll see you then.